I never thought I'd be the kind of person who suspects their spouse of cheating. Honestly, life felt normal. My wife, Anna, and I had been together for 8 years, married for 6, and our routine had settled into something predictable. Mornings were quiet, I'd make coffee while she read the news on her phone, we'd exchange a quick kiss, and she'd leave for work. Evenings were usually dinner, a bit of TV, and soft conversation about our days. We weren't flamboyantly happy, but I thought we were content. Then subtle changes started creeping in. It began with the phone. Anna had always been relaxed about privacy, leaving it on the counter, letting me glance at it, texting casually while I cooked dinner. But suddenly, she started setting it face down, locking it more often, taking it with her everywhere. When I asked her about it, she'd smile and shrug, nothing to hide, but the tone didn't feel the same. Next came the nights out. Anna had never been much of a social butterfly, but she started going to more work events, dinners with friends, occasional girls' nights. She would give vague details, just a small thing with some coworkers, or nothing special, you wouldn't know them. But it wasn't just the events themselves, it was the way she talked about them. There was a spark in her eyes, a subtle excitement in her voice, that felt different from the usual contentment she'd had. One night, she told me she was attending a networking event downtown. I asked casually, "Who'll be there?" and she laughed, brushing it off, "Oh, just people from the office. You don't know them." Later that evening, she went to the bathroom, leaving her bag on the counter. A message notification flashed across her phone screen, "See you soon," from someone I didn't recognize. My stomach lurched, but I immediately looked away. Maybe it was nothing. Still, small details began stacking up. I noticed faint traces of unfamiliar perfume lingering on her clothes. She would laugh over text messages she would quickly hide when I came near. Her ringtone had changed, and she claimed she just liked it. And even though I tried to dismiss my suspicions, my mind kept returning to that fleeting notification. I tried reasoning with myself. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe it was just nostalgia from friends reconnecting. But I couldn't shake a growing sense of distance between us, like a fog slowly settling in the spaces that had once felt warm. Conversations became shorter, lighter, and I noticed her avoiding direct answers when I asked about her nights out. "Fine," she'd say, "nothing much," and the conversation would end. I began analyzing patterns obsessively. Was she home later than usual? Was she texting more at odd hours? Was that little smile she gave me yesterday genuine, or was it for someone else? Each question felt dangerous, but I couldn't stop myself. Even when I tried to engage her in casual conversation about the future, she'd skirt the topic, redirect, or laugh nervously. I remember one particular Friday. She told me she had a dinner with a coworker. I tried to make conversation, asking, "How was your night?" expecting a casual recap. Instead, she smiled faintly, whispered, "Good," and went to the bedroom, locking the door behind her. My heart sank. Something was happening, something she didn't want me to know. That night, I lay awake for hours, running through every memory, every detail of the past month. I kept asking myself if I was imagining it, if my own insecurities were creating a phantom betrayal. But deep down, a part of me knew, my life, as I thought I knew it, was shifting, and I could sense the shadow before it fully revealed itself. The conflict between trust and subtle cues of potential betrayal. Small, ambiguous behaviors accumulate to create a strong sense of unease, demonstrating how suspicion often grows through patterns rather than a single event. This lays the foundation for emotional tension and the eventual confrontation. By the following week, my mind was a constant storm of suspicion and dread. I found myself glancing at her phone more than I should, convincing myself I was just being paranoid. Yet the small signs, the laughter over hidden messages, the locked doors, the lingering perfume, kept replaying in my head. I tried to breathe, to tell myself it was nothing, but the seed of doubt had firmly taken root. Then came a message from Jenna, one of Anna's old friends. I hesitated to open it, knowing it might change everything, but curiosity overpowered caution. "Hey. I don't know if you've noticed, but I think Anna might be seeing someone else." I stared at the screen, trying to make sense of the words. My first reaction was disbelief. I laughed nervously, telling myself she was exaggerating. But the tone of Jenna's message, the seriousness in her follow-up texts, shook me. She said she had seen Anna at a bar downtown, not with co-workers, as she had said, but with a man who was clearly not me. My stomach twisted. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the memory of Anna smiling at a message on her phone, the way she had lingered a little too long over her texts, the excitement in her voice about a night out. It was all too much to ignore. I realized I had a choice: pretend nothing was wrong and hope I was imagining things, or confront it. When Anna came home that evening, I tried to keep my voice calm, though my chest felt tight, my hands slightly trembling. "Anna, can we talk?" I asked, my words measured. She looked up from her bag, a small smile on her face, but I saw the tension in her shoulders. "Sure. About what?" I swallowed hard. "The bar last Friday, who were you with?" Her eyes flicked away. A nervous laugh escaped her. "Just some co-workers, I told you." "Why? Did Jenna say something?" Her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her sweater, her gaze avoiding mine. My heart pounded. I wanted to believe her, desperately, but everything in me screamed that something was wrong. "Anna. I need honesty. Were you with someone else?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She paused, her shoulders sagging as if she were holding a weight. I don't know what you mean," she said, her voice shaking slightly. The air between us thickened, heavy with unspoken words. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to demand the truth, but I forced myself to stay still. I could feel my pulse in my ears. Later that night, I lay awake in our bed, my thoughts racing. Images of her smiling at messages, laughing quietly over texts, and brushing past me with an unusual excitement swirled in my mind. My chest ached with a mixture of fear, anger, and heartbreak. I realized this wasn't just suspicion anymore, it was a storm gathering at my door, and I had to face it before it broke apart everything I thought I knew. The involvement of a third party confirms the narrator's internal suspicions and forces confrontation. This moment shifts the story from passive unease to active pursuit of truth, highlighting the psychological tension between hope, fear, and the need to face reality. The days after that confrontation were unbearable. I tried to convince myself that maybe Jenna was mistaken, that I was overreacting, that Anna had simply run into an old friend. But the feeling in my gut refused to relent. Every text notification, every little smile, every late-night bathroom visit gnawed at me. I started noticing patterns I had ignored before, the subtle way she angled her phone away from me when it buzzed, the faint scent of perfume that wasn't hers, the unusual excitement in her voice when she mentioned going out. Then came the moment I had feared but somehow expected. One evening, Anna had left her laptop open. I didn't intend to look, but I was drawn in, compelled by a mix of fear and desperate curiosity. And there it was, a thread of messages from someone named Mark. At first, I didn't recognize the name, but as I read, my stomach turned. "I can't wait to see you tonight," one message read. "I miss you," another said. "I'm counting down the hours." The words hit me like a physical blow. Mark. Her ex-boyfriend. The one she'd been with before me. My heart pounded, my hands trembled, and I felt as if the floor beneath me had dropped away. I wanted to close the laptop, to pretend I hadn't seen anything, but I couldn't. The betrayal was real, undeniable, and raw. When Anna came home that night, I confronted her immediately. "Who is Mark?" I asked, my voice breaking. Her eyes widened. She froze, then sank into the chair, covering her face with her hands. I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. "I ran into him, and it just it just happened. I didn't plan this. I'm so sorry. The room felt smaller, suffocating. My chest ached, and a mix of anger, disbelief, and heartbreak bubbled over. Do you love him? I asked, my voice barely audible. She looked up at me, tears in her eyes, her lips trembling. I don't know. We sat there in silence, the weight of her confession pressing down on both of us. I wanted to scream, to hit something, to run away, to disappear. But instead, I asked myself a single question over and over: how could the person I trusted completely betray me in such a way? In the days that followed, our conversations became terse, filled with awkward silences and half-spoken truths. I found myself revisiting every memory, every night out she had claimed was harmless, every unusual smile, every hidden text. Each moment was now tinged with suspicion and pain. I reached out to Jenna again, who confirmed everything she had seen. Anna had been meeting Mark frequently, at bars, cafes, even at his apartment. The realization hit me in waves: grief, anger, confusion, and a profound sense of loss. My mind couldn't reconcile the woman I loved with the actions I had uncovered. Despite the shock, I also noticed my own resilience beginning to flicker. I started writing down my feelings, talking to close friends, and trying to process the betrayal without completely unraveling. The heartbreak was immense, but it was also shaping a new awareness in me, about boundaries, honesty, and the fragility of trust. The revelation of the affair represents the narrative's emotional apex, turning suspicion into undeniable reality. This moment triggers intense psychological responses: grief, anger, disbelief, and forces the narrator to confront both the betrayal and his own feelings. It is a pivotal point for character growth and sets the stage for reflection and healing. The weeks that followed the revelation were a haze of emotions I didn't know I could feel all at once. Betrayal, sadness, anger, disbelief, they tangled inside me so tightly that I could hardly breathe. At first, I stayed in the apartment we shared, not out of hope of reconciling, but because I needed to face the truth, to process my own feelings. Anna moved between apologies and emotional withdrawal, trying to navigate her own guilt and the unresolved pull she felt toward Mark. We began attending therapy together. The sessions were raw, sometimes devastating. One afternoon, as I sat in the sterile office, I found myself saying aloud the thought that had haunted me: I feel like my whole life, my perception of our love, has been a lie. The therapist didn't flinch, she simply let me speak, letting me release the emotions I had been bottling up for weeks. I cried openly for the first time since discovering the affair, and it was both exhausting and strangely liberating. Through therapy, I began to understand the nuances of the situation. Anna had reconnected with Mark out of nostalgia, unresolved feelings, and impulsive desire. None of it justified her actions, but recognizing the motives helped me separate her choices from my own self-worth. I realized that the anger I felt at her actions was entangled with grief for the relationship I thought I had, the life I imagined. We had countless difficult conversations. Why him? Why now? Why me? I asked more times than I could count. Anna's answers were messy, incomplete, and often painful to hear. She admitted to longing for a past comfort, for a connection she thought she had lost in the routine of our marriage. But hearing it aloud, seeing the truth of her emotions and actions, helped me acknowledge what I needed: boundaries, closure, and space to heal. Eventually, we made the painful decision to separate. We sold our apartment, divided belongings, and set up independent living arrangements. The last night in our home, I stood in the empty living room, echoing with memories, and felt a strange sense of closure. The walls that had held so many shared moments now reflected back my own autonomy. It hurt, deeply, but it was also the first step toward reclaiming my life. During this time, I also noticed something surprising: resilience. I began running again, reconnecting with friends, and exploring hobbies I had neglected. I allowed myself to feel the full spectrum of emotions: anger, sadness, loneliness, without letting them define me. I was learning that healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means creating space to move forward despite the pain. This stage illustrates the necessity of reflection, professional support, and establishing boundaries after betrayal. Emotional processing through therapy helps the narrator regain agency, while separation provides physical and psychological space to heal. It marks the transition from devastation toward personal growth and resilience. Months had passed since the separation, and life began to find a new rhythm. I moved into a small apartment downtown, one with a view of the city skyline that felt expansive compared to the suffocating familiarity of my old home. I reconnected with friends I had neglected, picked up running again, and allowed myself to enjoy the little things, the way sunlight fell across the kitchen counter, the smell of coffee brewing in the morning, the quiet of an empty street at night. The shadow of betrayal still lingered occasionally, like a faint scar, but it no longer defined me. I noticed it first during a walk in the park, when a couple passed by holding hands and laughing. The pang of jealousy and sadness struck me immediately, but I took a deep breath and let it pass. I realized I could feel that pain and still continue forward. My life, I now understood, didn't have to be defined by her choices or by the heartbreak I endured. Slowly, I allowed myself to date again, cautiously at first. I wasn't seeking to replace Anna or erase the past. I wanted connection, honesty, and laughter, things that had been absent in the final months of our marriage. One evening, I met someone at a friend's dinner party. Conversation flowed effortlessly, laughter came naturally, and there were no secrets, no evasions, just a genuine connection. For the first time in months, I felt the excitement of a future that belonged entirely to me. Even now, I sometimes think about Anna, especially during quiet nights when memories drift unbidden. But the pain no longer consumes me. Instead, I reflect on what I learned, the importance of honesty, the fragility of trust, and the necessity of self-respect. Betrayal had broken a life I once thought unshakable, but it also gave me the opportunity to rebuild, stronger and more aware of my own needs. I am not naive. I know relationships can falter, people can make mistakes, and love can hurt in ways that feel unbearable. But I have also learned that life continues, that pain can lead to growth, and that hope is something we carry forward, step by step. I don't regret the lessons learned, and I no longer define myself by the betrayal I endured. I am moving on, and for the first time in a long while, I feel capable of truly living again. This story illustrates the profound psychological impact of betrayal and the complex journey from suspicion to discovery, reflection, and recovery. It emphasizes the importance of trust, boundaries, and self-awareness, showing that while betrayal can shatter a relationship, it can also catalyze personal growth and emotional resilience. Ultimately, the narrative affirms that even after profound loss, it is possible to rebuild, find hope, and reclaim one's life.